Ooh, now 1123 has caused pretty much every champion's win rate to change a lot, but there are 15 champions since the first patch of the preseason hit the Rift who have been affected the most, and I'm talking like they've gone from being the best champs to being the worst and vice versa. So in today's video, the Jizz is going to fill you in on the win rates of the champions that have gone up the most and gone down the most. And for sure, whether you play these champions or not, this video will be super helpful because you are going to see these champs an awful lot in the next 10 days or so make sure you stay tuned. Now for more awesome preseason content, make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on champions, items, runes, and without further ado, let's get into it. And we're going to start, guys, by talking about the 6 champions whose win rate has improved the most. And the first of these is Kha'Zix, with his win rate going up over 1.5%, and it's kind of hard to figure this out because lots of other AD assassins, their win rates have actually gone down. So why is Kha'Zix different? Well, change is good, first of all, but I actually think it has a lot to do with the actual jungle changes. So because Scuttlecrab is giving you 80% less reduced experience now, because Kha'Zix isn't the best farming jungler, this means you don't have to worry about this as much and you can try to focus on ganking lanes and actually getting kills. And once you do get these assists and kills around the map, this is when you can really snowball. Now, of course, the buff to Duskblade or Prowler's Claw, whatever you want to go, these were really nice. Both Assassin Mythics are 100 gold cheaper, and their actives are also dealing more damage. Now, sometimes you're not going to have the most fun in games because of how good Crown of the Shattered Queen is, this new ability power mythic, which is going to reduce your damage to that target by 75%, and because you're all about burst damage, this is a bit of a cuck. So maybe picking Kha'Zix into a team that isn't going to have one of these mage champions who builds this item is your best bet of actually winning. But so far this patch, guys, Kha'Zix has enjoyed it and his win rate has gone up. And following Kha'Zix, we have Jax, whose win rate has also gone up over 1.5%. Now, there are 2 big reasons for this. The first one is obviously lethal tempo. This new keystone is giving you attack speed and then range when you get to 6 stacks, and because your W can count as a stack, this is awesome on an auto attacker like Jax. It gives you more power in the early game, which is when you are actually kind of weak, and in the mid to late game, it just gives you even more power. So you're almost unbeatable in those 1v1s. Now, the other reason why Jax has gotten better is because lots of items in the game at the moment have been given extra HP since the actual changes hit. So if we think of tank items in the top lane, Sunfire Aegis, Turbo Chem Tank, and then if we think of AP items, Horizon Focus, Cosmic Drive, the new Shadow Flame item, these give you more HP now. And because Jax is such a good tank shredder with Bork and Divine Sunderer, the Spellblade passive, you are going to have much more fun and just more success, which is proving to be the case. Now, next up, we have Master Yi in the jungle. And what I love about Master Yi, guys, is that there are 2 viable builds here. So you can still go the lethality one-shot Yi with Duskblade, Collector, or you can opt for the DPS build that revolves around Kraken Slayer and then Ginsu's Rageblade. And this is really good in the meta at the moment just because tanks are becoming more of a thing. But just like Jax, because you're a melee champion and a big auto attacker for the most part, lethal tempo is a great keystone to run even for both of these builds, even the Duskblade route. And because Duskblade is cheaper and dealing more damage in the auto attack, I actually think Master Yi is a super underrated pick. And at the moment, in Grandmaster and above, he has a 56% win rate, and this is in high elo, where Yi shouldn't really be that effective. He's like the ultimate low elo stomp champion, so the fact that he works in high elo just goes to show how good this setup is. And because of this, his win rate has improved by almost 2%. Now, another champion whose win rate has improved by close to 2% is another tank shredder, and this is Vayne in the bot lane. Now, for Vayne this patch, guys, the fact that her win rate is 53%. For a skill-based champion to have this high of a win rate, it just goes to show how OP she is. And there is no doubt in my mind, whether it's good or not, that she will probably get nerfed in the coming patch. So make use of her while she can. Now, why is she OP? Well, if we think about lethal tempo, Vayne is an auto attacker, and her big weakness is her range. So if you can actually stack lethal tempo and get to the 6 stacks, your range is going to increase, and therefore you'll be able to deal more damage. And because you have the mobility to chase enemy champions and actually stay in contact with them, you can make use of this range as well as anyone. And just like Yi and Jax, because tanks are just becoming more popular, the true damage you deal and the damage you can deal with Kraken Slayer if you want to go this in Ginsu's Rageblade, it's just an all-around insane combination. So Vayne's win rate, just like Master Yi's, has gone up almost 2%, but one champion's win rate who has improved by over 2.5%, this is Jace. And I even called it before this patch hit, guys. That first strike Jace is going to become an absolute weapon. But for some reason, some people are still building Phase Rush or Conqueror. Stop. That's not what you want to do. First strike, please. And then building Eclipse, which is 100 gold cheaper, into Manamune and then Cerulda's Grudge. And you can still offer Ghostblade if the enemy top laner is squishy. It's just 100 gold more expensive. But yes, the reason First Strike works so well on Jace is because you're a ranged champion, and in the top lane, most of the time you're going to be going up against melee champions, and Jace is actually just really hard to trade with. So if you think about it, when he gets that First Strike onto you, as soon as you think of retaliating and actually jumping back onto him, he can just knock you away. For example, if you think about a champion like Jax who's really good at the moment, if you pick Jace, there's no real way for Jax to actually stay onto you just because you have brilliant disengage. So Jace's win rate, guys, because of this setup, has gone up a lot, but not as much as Victor. Now, if you play Victor in the mid or top lane, this dude's win win rate has increased by over 3%, and it's actually the biggest swing of the entire patch. And the reason for this, guys, is just like Jace, Victor can make use of first strike, and because of your death ray, which gives you insane range, you should always be getting free gold because the enemy champion should not be hitting you first. But there's also another reason why Victor is so good. This is because he is one of the biggest abusers of the new Crown of the Shattered Queen mythic. So the fact this item is just 2,800 gold, and because it's giving you one of the best passes in the entire game, it's like a Banshee Veil Malzahar passive fused into one, it makes it extremely hard for assassins and dive champions to actually kill you because you're going to reduce their damage by 75%. And remember, when you actually have this passive up, your AP is increasing. Now, Victor is also a big fan of the new Cosmic Drive, which is giving you a phase rush passive essentially, which was actually the keystone you were giving up for first strike, and you can easily keep this going because of your ultimate's tick damage and your low cooldowns in the mid to late game. And you can also make use of the new Shadow Flame item, 100 AP, 200 HP, really nice, and the passive, which is giving you magic penetration based off the enemy champion shielding and also their current HP. So it acts as like an execute, and it's just a really nice item for Victor. So those are the 6 big winners of 1123. But what about the 9 biggest losers? Because lots of champions are actually pretty upset about this patch, and if you guys are, let me know in the comments. It's fine to vent, no worries at all. Now, the first of these is Darius. His win rate has actually gone down by almost 1.5%. Now, how on earth can this be the case? Because everyone, Ditches included, expected Darius to be really good with a new lethal tempo. And to be honest, in lane, especially early on, Darius has definitely improved because your W can proc this, and because of that recent W buff, so it's now on a flat 5-second cooldown. There are very few champions who can deal with your early lane presence. But here's the thing, guys, just think about the bot lane and the rest of the map. There's a Vayne with Lulu on the enemy team. There's a Victor in the mid lane with Crown of the Shattered Queen. There's a Rammus in the jungle with 400 armor. So really, it's more of a case of what Darius can do actually out of the laning phase, because these AD carries who are abusing the new lethal tempo with their extra range, it's just harder to get onto them, and because of more peel in the game at the moment with the presence of tanks and peeling supports and enchantresses, it's just harder for Darius to take that lead from lane and impress it on the rest of the map. Now, this next champion is pretty interesting, and I think Qiyana's win rate has decreased this patch because lots of people are just experimenting with her. Now, if you're experimenting with first strike as a keystone, or maybe you're rushing Axiom Arc, the new lethality item, which is 3,000 gold, and reducing your ultimate's cooldown by 25%. But here's the thing, guys, the best Qiyana players in the world who are going with Electrocute, that standard rune page, and then building Prowler's Core as their mythic, which is cheaper and the active is dealing more damage, these guys win 60% of their games. So Qiyana's win rate decreasing is just because, I think anyway, of lots of people experimenting, and even though tanks might be more of a thing, the enemy squishies are still squishy. You should still be able to one-shot them, and because you have way more mobility than Darius, and getting kited shouldn't really be a thing, especially in lower elos, it should be easy to one-shot the enemy backline still. Now, Illaoi is the next champion who hasn't been that happy since this patch hit, guys, with a win rate dropping close to 1.5%, and a bit like Darius, your laning phase is kind of decent, and with Divine Sundra being an even better mythic choice, because champions just have more HP at the moment, the laning phase really isn't a problem. It's after the laning phase. Like, what are you meant to do, again, against a Vayne with lethal tempo, or against a tank top laner who can just soak up all of your damage and CC you for their teammates to kill you? And it's not really that fun getting Lulu polymorph, so really you're just hoping the enemy champions have no idea what they're doing, and it's like as long as they stay at range, you have nothing to do. So maybe on Illaoi and Darius, just try to focus on split pushing, just try to isolate the enemy top laner and win the split. Now, another interesting one here, guys, we have Rek'Sai, win rate gone down by 1.5%, and this one, honestly, to me, doesn't really make much sense because in high reload, Rek'Sai has close to a 60% win rate. She is that broken. With Conqueror, even though it got nerfed, you can stack it so quickly. So it's like the nerf didn't even impact you, so it's still really good. And with the buff Prowler's Claw, she is even better. Even with the jungle change, like because the enemy jungler doesn't have that Scuttle Crab experience to get back in a game after you get like 3 kills at level 3, like these are all really good. I just think it's a lot of people maybe experimenting, maybe going Electrocute, First Strike, and maybe going some other lethality setup. So to be honest, it might seem a little weird calling this out in this video because, yeah, it's pretty pseudo, but I still think it's important to point out to you guys the Rek'Sai has not got weaker, she has only gotten stronger, so this stat is pretty troll. And following this, we have another stat that is just a little less troll, and this is Nocturne. And just like Rek'Sai, Noc's win rate has gone down by 1.5%, and the reason for this is because there's so much talk at the moment of Nocturne with Axiom Arc. So if you think of Nocturne's ultimate, Paranoia, this is a really long cooldown, so if you can get 4 kills and or assists during a team fight, you can use Paranoia again. Now, there have actually been clips of Nocturnes doing this, but here's the thing, guys, one Paranoia should be enough in a team fight, and the Axiom Arc I item. Lethality Nocturne, to be honest, is not the best thing, and it's not really giving you the stats you kind of need. Strikebreaker, Steris Gauge, Guardian's Angel. I think this is a much better way to play Nocturne, and with Lethal Tempo, which is giving you attack speed and then range, with Paranoia, with your Fear, it should be really easy to get those stacks, and it's just a way more consistent way of playing. So that's the build I'm going to recommend to you, and to be honest, I think if everyone was actually playing like this, Nocturne's win rate would actually increase. But one win rate decrease that is definitely legit is Nars. And Nars' win rate in the top lane has decreased by almost 2%. And really the reason for this is because none of his items have been buffed, and in the top lane, pretty much everyone else has gotten better. Tanks are stronger, Lethal Tempo melee champs are better. So if you think of Aurelia, who does really well into Nar, maybe Darius with Ghost, who can chase you down, there's just a lot of champions who beat you, and the champions you did beat before this patch, they're just a lot harder to actually beat. And just like Darius and Alawi, because champions just have more range now and they're harder to kill because Crown of the Shattered Queen, it's harder to make Nar work even in those team fights. Now we've got 3 more big losers of 11-23 to go, and the first of these is Pyke. And Pyke's win rate has gone down 2%, and it might be kind of weird because Dustblade got buffed, so how on earth can Pyke get worse? Well, here's the thing, guys. In the bot lane, because Vayne, Jinx, Ashe, Kog'Maw, these are the best AD carries. So the best supports, therefore, are naturally things like Lulu, Sona, Soraka, who can peel these hyper carry late gamers. And Pyke really struggles against these champions. In the laning phase, you can get poked, you can get bullied. Now, similar to Pyke, we have Evelynn. Her win rate has dropped almost 2.5%. And the reason Eve has gotten worse is because things are just harder to kill. You're a melee champion who doesn't use lethal tempo, which is kind of a big deal. And you don't even have the damage from Alternator anymore. This has gone down because it's now giving you HP instead. So that early game spike isn't what it was. And if you think about Crown of the Shattered Queen, mages, who should be free gold for you, they are just harder to kill. And with tanks becoming a thing, it's just harder to get kills and snowball. So really what champions like Evelynn and Echo are relying on is Lichbane to really become a thing again. That's when they would actually be good. But at the moment, everything is against them, and this is why E's win rate has dropped. Just like Rengar's, who is the last champion we have to mention in this video. And for Rengar, he's actually much better played in the top lane as a bruiser at the moment, because in the jungle, as an assassin, it's kind of like playing Talon in the mid lane. You just don't have the damage to blow up enemy squishy champions. If a Vayne has their support next to them, there's no way you're going to kill them. If a mage has Crown of the Shattered Queen, there's no way you're going to kill them. If they have a Rammus, a Zac, a Sejuani in the jungle, there is no way you are going to kill them. So as Rengar jungle, you are really limited to actually getting kills on the map, just like Evelynn. And because you're a melee attack damage champion who can't abuse lethal tempo, like a Xin Zhao or a Nocturne in the jungle, in those 1v1s, you are just a lot weaker and way more killable. So those are the 15 champions, guys, who are loving and hating the 11-23 changes. And if you have any thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments, and also be sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been the Jizz. Oh, and also remember to check out the GameLeap website on your way out for the best challenger tier content. I'm talking courses, guides, high-elo fun analyses. We have these in abundance, and you will definitely improve as a player if you go ahead and watch them and get that access. So sign up today, and this has been the Jizz.